I want to sit down and talk about images and how we perceive what we watch on TV and what it does to our self-conscious and what is written in the scriptures about that. We see that back in the beginning of time, pictures were used as meaning and phrases. They hold a lot of spiritual meaning behind them and the things that they stand for. And with that being said, if you sit down and you go back and do the, especially when I was younger as a kid, you could do the research on this. The drive-in theaters had a big thing where they would play subliminal messages during the halftime of the movie. Everybody would run in the concession stand, jump out of their cars in the drive-in theater, and go get popcorn and candy and everything. Come to find out down the road, they were made to stop putting subliminal messages in there, and then the signs, billboards, everything that you see. So this was an experiment that the government and everything had started a long time ago for barter and trade, and they just do it in a different fashion with technology now. Let's take the Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial. For those who haven't seen it, and for those that have, there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial. They're giving out different specials of what Kentucky Fried Chicken offers, and he says, "Yeah, I am the Colonel." And then 3 arms come out to the left and 3 arms come out to the right. Now, for anybody who doesn't know the etymology and the spiritualism and the meaning, subliminal message behind that, that is the god of Sheba, the god of destruction, in India. Now, if we go back and revert, how did a lot of these races and nations know all these mystical things and get all these little mystical gods and whole 9 yards? Goes back to where it says the fallen angels, the watchers, had taught the women of man, you know, the tricks and the trades and all the other stuff and the fake gods and everything else. So that's how that goes. And then they sat down and then they would spread it on to what we call the people today, the Grecians, which end up turning into Greek mythology. But you'll find also that in Enoch and in the book of Jasher. So what about graven images and the things we see, and then how we try to take something for good luck? We see the hand of Horus, that came from the Hamites. It started off with Nimrod. That's why you see so many different symbolisms for every religion underneath one eye. So that goes all the way back. Even in Egypt was really big on that, and it transpired over. Every religion is trying to say and use that for something good, but they're not pure and in righteousness of the faith, because you're not supposed to take any of that. And any excuse trust and believe me, is not of the word, and it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about and teaching, not of the one true God. Because I'm going to be honest with you, he hated certain phrases, he hated certain words. If you were to say, use Jewish and this, that's the third, and Ashkenazi, mix everything all together, knowing that that came from a certain seed and whole 9 yards, no, he's not going to hear you, because he doesn't want to hear it, especially when he's not of it. If he told you no symbols and you try to tell me that a symbol or an image or a painting is something that he won't mind, and he tells you he doesn't like it, no, he's not going to change from yesterday and today. And if he did not kill off Lucifer, a son that he created out of light, that turned evil, that he had to throw on earth, that still wouldn't humble himself and went and did all this, to the point that he had to send, you know, his only begotten son in the Messiah to eventually take over, because what evolves in heaven evolves on earth. What on earth is as in heaven. It's just like you're not going to kill off your kid and do all this other stuff. But if you have another kid and that kid comes along and then that son is better and stronger, it's just like the mafia, it's just like a job. Somebody comes along is better and stronger, guess what? You're gonna go ahead, let them reign, leave them, whatever, have them in a high position of a job, because they apparently know what they're doing where the other one didn't and was screwing up, and it takes the place of that. Now, once he takes the place of you being the boss, that means that, hey, you know, that eternal love and everything that God has and whole 9 yards does not apply to him, because he came to straighten everything out. That was my father. My father has eternal love the same. I have eternal love the same as my father, but I came to do this. All right. So does that make God a killer and liar? No. Not if he passed it on to somebody else, just like you would your kid, or a king to a prince, and so on and so forth. It's the same thing. Everything manifests, even though it's in different realms, it has the same rules and laws. People don't understand it. So with that being said, For I passed along and observed the objects of your worship. And this is Acts 17, verse 23. For I passed along and observed the objects of your worship. I found also an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. For there are you worshiping as unknown. This I proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it, being the Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by man, nor does he get served by any man's hands, as though he even needed anything anyway, since he himself is to all of mankind the life, the breath, and everything. He made from one man every nation of mankind to live on the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and boundaries of their dwelling places, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward him to find him. Now, let me spread on to say this and go back to Moses' time when they came out of Egypt. His brother Aaron was blessed to be the Levi tribe and the priest that would teach the people. Now, when these 613 laws, which are the worldly, spiritually, and dietary laws of these people, were taught unto him, they were to go on amongst the nations and teach these same laws unto the nations so they can be righteous unto God. That was what these tribal and these Israelites were to do for other nations that they transgressed and didn't do, but end up falling in line with whatever these other pagan religions and people were doing. So the women were supposed to teach the women how to do the kids in the whole 9 yards, which is why we see a lot of people who have children that they make sure they make their bed, they say their prayers, they wash their hands, do all this other stuff. They don't act out in public, and if they do, the parents jump right on them. They don't care, they probably jump on them. But then you have a lot of other kids that are shooting up schools and they acting out, and then they don't get their way. They have a nervous breakdown. Everybody got to go. That's because that comes from way back when, and I broke it down. It's the Hoplo group. It's a genetic thing. So that is what it is. So, but it's a characteristic thing and a trait thing that has been carried over from way back when. So we have to look at the beliefs and how people view things in the ideology excuse me, I'm pronouncing it wrong. The ideology of how people think and how they view things. Thus thou being said, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward him and find him. Yet he is actually not far from each one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as even some of your own poets have said, for we are indeed his offspring. Being then God's offspring, we ought not to think that the divine being is like gold or silver or stone, or an image formed by an art or an imagination of man. The times of ignorance of God overlooked, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent, because he has fixed a day on which he will judge the world in the righteous that he will judge the world in righteousness by a man whom he has appointed, and of this he has given assurance to all by raising him from the dead. That right there is enough to be said. So, I'm going to speak this and say this. What made Yeshua so righteous? He came upon this earth. It was given unto him, and he was the only person that walked this earth without sin. That's real talk. Then he got taught the secrets and the mysteries to life. Now, if you look at the chromosomes and the DNA and everything that was pure thus of him, you can check this out and then very get this. He'll spit into the dirt and he'll put it in somebody's eye. Or he'll spit on somebody's eye, because that's letting you know it's the DNA. Once again, I keep talking about this stuff because nobody's getting it. So unless you believe and then you really, you know what I mean, follow through fast, and you go hard with it. Real talk, you just straight up go hard with it. Then that's when it's gonna come to you. Now you're gonna have tribulation tribulations. Why? Because that's what Satan does. He makes you think a different way. I told you to rebuke that. All right. rebuke that, pray, come find a discernment and an understanding, and trust me, because what you seek, what you rebuke, you have dominion and command over. So it works in a lovely and a good way. Now, you go through them tribulations and tribulations and you pass the test. You always going to have a test in life. You got a test at your school. You got a test at your house. You got a test at your job. You got a test every morning you wake up and you got to catch a train, a bus, or a plane, or drive somewhere. That's just a test, and you make sure that you make it there safe. You know what I mean? So my whole point is this. No matter what, life is a test. You go and you hold fast and you believe. I just sat right here, all the graven images and everything out. Let's get that out of our mind, because every graven image that you see, carry, or believe in, I do not care, carries a spirit behind it. Let's look at the Statue of Liberty. All right, that's straight up a whore. All right, everybody in New York is acting like a whore. And this country is the biggest sex country in the whole entire world from out of every nation. So understand, that's what that spirit brings. Understand what the spirit brings when they sit down and show you Kentucky Fried Chicken with 6 arms and everything. They let you know what it is. All right, but you're not seeing it. And that puts the spirit into what it is, regardless of the fact. And they know this. Everything has a meaning behind it. So don't represent something and have something and claim you love God if you don't know what that representation of what you have means. Because Egypt was very good at using them symbols, because them symbols were phrases that opened up doors to the other side.